Hello, this tutorial is on solving using the quadratic formula. So here is my quadratic formula. You may have seen this before in Algebra 1. It's x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. First of all, we need to identify our ABCs. We need to make sure that our quadratic is in standard form, which is right here. And notice that standard form is equal to 0. So we have to make sure our quadratic is equal to 0. So let's identify our ABCs in number 1. So number 1 is x squared minus 6x plus 7. Our a is the coefficient of x squared, which is 1. Our b is the coefficient of x, which is negative 6. And our c is our constant, which equals 7. Now that we've identified our ABCs, pause the video and plug these numbers into the formula. So you should have x equals negative 6 plus or minus the square root of negative 6 excuse me, squared minus 4 times 1 times 7 all over 2 times 1. If you have that, good job. If you don't, fix it. Now, there are a couple ways that you can do this. You can just plug this into the calculator and let it calculate for you. I'm going to show you that, and then we'll do it by hand. So get to a clear screen, the home screen, and you're going to type it in just as you see it using the fraction. So alpha y equals, enter, and type in the top. Instead of using plus or minus, we're just going to do plus first, and then we'll go back and change it to minus. So a negative, parentheses, negative 6, close parentheses, plus the square root, that's second x squared, of negative 6 squared minus 4 parentheses 1 close parentheses open parentheses 7 close parentheses. Notice that my square root is over everything. And I'm going to scroll down to the bottom and put 2 parentheses 1. Hit my enter button, and there is my answer. It's around 4.4. Now we're going to change that. We're going to scroll up, grab it, hit enter, and we're going to scroll over and change that plus sign to a minus sign. Hit enter, and x also equals 1.6, I'm sorry, around 1.6. Okay, so now we're going to solve this by hand. I'm going to put these numbers right up here. And then we're going to simplify this bad boy. Okay. First, we have a negative b, which is a negative 6. A negative and negative make a what? They make a positive. So that means that's a positive 6. Let's choose a marker that works. Plus or minus the square root of negative 6 squared, which gives us 36, minus negative 4 times 1 times 7 is a negative 28. All over 2 times 1, which is 2. Now, run out of white space here. There we go. Now, we're going to simplify what's underneath the radical. So 36, take away 28, gives us 8. So we have 6 plus or minus the square root of 8 over 2. We're going to break this apart into one that's plus and one that's minus. So that is 6 plus the square root of 8 minus 2, over 2. And 6 minus the square root of 8 over 2. Now we have a radical to simplify. The square root of 8. If we break apart the 8 into its factors, we have 1 and 8 and 2 and 4. Which one of these is a perfect square? Well, if you said 4, you are correct. So we're going to break apart our radical into the square root of 4 times 2. The square root of 4 is 2. So 2, and that 2 stays underneath the radical. So the square root of 8 is 2 root 2. So I'm going to get rid of this and write that here. So I have 6 plus 2 root 2 over 2. And I have 6 minus 2 root 2 over 2. I wish we were done, but we're not done. Now we're going to simplify this part. We have 6 over 2 and we have 2 over 2. 6 divided by 2 gives us 3. 2 over 2 cancels to 1. So our first root is 3 plus the square root of 2. Now let's simplify the other side. 6 divided by 2 gives us 3. 2 over 2, well, negative 2 over 2 simplifies to a negative 1. So 3 minus the square root of 2. Those are my roots, And I know that looks complicated, and you're probably thinking the calculator is the better method. And you know what? You're right. Either method will work for me. But if you can simplify it like this, it would be beautiful. If you notice that our answers are kind of close, 3 plus the square root of 2 is like 1 point something. So 3 plus 1 point something is 4 point something. And then 3 minus 1 gives you about 2. So 1.6 is close to 2. So those are our answers. Either one will work. If you prefer to use the calculator, it's fine. You can stop there. So the expectation is that you complete the rest of the problems, but you have to make sure that your equations are equal to 0. Like this one is not equal to 0. You have to move the 3x squared over here to make it equal to 0. So let's do that. I'm going to add 3x squared to both sides. This cancels to 0. And then on the other side I have 3x squared plus 6x minus 10. Let's try this one over here. I want this equal to 0. It's probably easier to move these guys over here with this one. So first I'm going to move my x squared term. So plus 2x squared to both sides. And that gives me 6 equals 2x squared plus 9x plus 15. And then I can move the minus 6, or move the 6, I'm sorry, by subtracting. So minus 6, make sure that you're subtracting it from its constant. So we have 0 equals 2x squared plus 9x. 15 take away 6 is a positive 9. And then you can identify your ABCs and easily put it into the calculator. That is the end of this tutorial. Have fun working on this worksheet. It's due to the substitute at the end of the period. Thank you.